First contact and desperate plea. The vastness of space stretched out before the UES horizon. Humanity's most advanced deep space exploration vessel. Captain Elena Reyes stood on the bridge, her dark eyes scanning the star-studded void beyond the reinforced viewports. 20 years of space exploration had weathered her face, but the spark of curiosity in her eyes remained undimmed. "Commander Chen, status report," she called out, her voice carrying the authority of years of command. David Chen, her executive officer, looked up from his console. "All systems nominal, Captain. We're approaching the outer reaches of the Epsilon Eridani system. No anomalies detected so far." Reyes nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. This mission was supposed to be routine, a survey of a potentially habitable exoplanet in a nearby star system. But in her experience, routine was often anything but. As if on cue, the ship's AI, Araya, materialized as a holographic projection near the captain's chair. "Captain Reyes, I've detected an unusual signal emanating from the third planet in the system." Reyes raised an eyebrow. "Unusual how, Araya?" "The signal doesn't match any known natural phenomena or human communications protocols. It appears to be artificial in origin, but definitely not human." A hush fell over the bridge. The implications were clear. They might have just stumbled upon humanity's first contact with an alien civilization. "Put it through, Araya," Reyes ordered, her heart racing despite her calm exterior. A series of high-pitched whistles and clicks filled the bridge, punctuated by what sounded like words in an unknown language. The crew exchanged bewildered glances. "Araya, can you make any sense of this?" Chen asked. The AI's avatar flickered as it processed the signal. "I'm detecting patterns consistent with language, Commander. Give me a moment to run it through our xenolinguistic algorithms." Minutes passed, feeling like hours. Finally, Araya spoke again. "Captain, I've managed to decipher parts of the message. It appears to be a distress call." Reyes leaned forward. "Can you translate it?" Araya's voice took on a different tone, mimicking the alien cadence. "To any who hear this, our world falls. The Krevlaks destroy all. Please, help us." The bridge erupted in murmurs. Reyes raised a hand, silencing her crew. "Araya, source of the transmission. The third planet, Captain. Approximately 1.2 times Earth's size, with signs of advanced civilization visible from orbit." Reyes turned to her navigation officer. "Lieutenant Patel, set a course for the third planet, maximum safe speed." "Aye, Captain," Patel responded, her fingers flying over the controls. As the horizon changed course, Reyes addressed her crew. "I know we're all thinking the same thing. This goes beyond our mission parameters. We're not supposed to interfere with alien civilizations, let alone get involved in their conflicts. But that signal was clear. Someone out there needs help, and we're the only ones who can provide it." She paused, looking each of her senior officers in the eye. "I'm making the call. We're going to investigate and render aid if possible. Any objections?" The bridge remained silent, faces set with determination. Chen spoke up. "We're with you, Captain. It's the right thing to do." Reyes nodded, grateful for her crew's support. "All right then. Battle stations, everyone. We don't know what we're flying into." As the horizon approached the planet, signs of conflict became evident. Debris fields littered the outer orbit, remnants of what must have been a fierce space battle. The planet itself bore scars visible even from space, vast swathes of scorched land, and the glow of burning cities. "My God," Chen whispered, staring at the main view screen. Reyes gripped the arms of her chair. "Araya, scan for life signs. Patel, find us a safe landing zone near the source of that transmission." "Captain," Araya interjected, "I'm detecting multiple spacecraft in the planet's atmosphere. Design unknown, but they appear to be engaged in planetary bombardment." "Weapons systems online," Reyes ordered. "Let's hope we don't need them, but be ready." As they descended through the atmosphere, the true scale of the devastation became apparent. Once gleaming cities lay in ruins, forests burned, and scattered groups of beings fled across the landscape. "I've located the source of the transmission," Patil announced. "It's coming from an underground facility about 10 kilometers from our current position." "Take us in," Rise commanded. "Chen, prepare a ground team. We're going to make contact." The Horizon touched down in a clearing near the coordinates of the transmission. As the landing ramp lowered, Rise led a team of 6, including Chen and their chief xenobiologist, Dr. Yuki Tanaka. The air was thick with smoke and the acrid smell of burning synthetics. In the distance, the sound of explosions and energy weapons punctuated an otherwise eerie silence. "Stay alert," Rise warned as they moved toward a hidden entrance partially concealed by rubble. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the entrance. Tall, slender, with iridescent skin that seemed to shimmer despite the gloomy atmosphere. Its large, multifaceted eyes widened at the sight of the humans. Dr. Tanaka stepped forward, hands raised in a universal gesture of peace. "We come in peace," she said slowly. "We receive your distress call." The alien's mandibles clicked rapidly, and then, to everyone's surprise, it spoke in halting English. You came. We didn't think anyone would hear us." Reyes moved to stand beside Tanaka. "I'm Captain Elena Reyes of the United Earth Ship Horizon. We're here to help. Can you tell us what's happening?" The alien's body seemed to sag with relief. "I am Zix Era, lead scientist of the Zirconian people. Our world, our people, we are being systematically destroyed by the Krevlax. They came without warning, without mercy." As Zix Era spoke, more Zirconians emerged from hiding, their bioluminescent skin pulsing with what Reyes assumed were strong emotions. "The Krevlax?" Chen asked. "Who are they?" Zix Era's multifaceted eyes darkened. "Conquerors. Destroyers. They move from world to world, stripping resources, enslaving populations. We are peaceful. We had no defenses." A distant explosion rocked the ground, causing everyone to stumble. Rise made a quick decision. "Zix Era, we can offer you and your people sanctuary aboard our ship. We'll do what we can to help." The Zirconian scientist's skin flashed with patterns of light. "You would do this for us, strangers?" Rise nodded firmly. "It's what we do. We help those in need." As they began to evacuate the Zirconians to the Horizon, Reyes couldn't help but feel the weight of her decision. They were about to be drawn into an interstellar conflict, violating dozens of protocols in the process. But as she watched her crew working alongside the grateful Zirconians, she knew in her heart it was the right choice. Little did she know that this moment would mark the beginning of humanity's entrance onto the galactic stage, forever changing the course of not just human history, but that of countless alien civilizations across the stars. The evacuation continued through the night, as more and more Zirconians emerged from hidden bunkers and underground cities. The Horizon's crew worked tirelessly, transforming cargo bays into makeshift living quarters and sick bays. As dawn broke, casting an alien sun's light over the ravaged landscape, Rives stood on the bridge, watching the last group of refugees board the ship. She turned to Chen, her face set with determination. "Send a message to Earth Command," she said. Tell them humanity just made first contact, and we're about to fight our first interstellar war." The Krevlax threat. The UES Horizon hung in low orbit around Zirconia Prime, its hull reflecting the eerie glow of fires still burning on the planet's surface. Inside, the ship bustled with activity as human crew members and Zirconian refugees worked side by side, transforming the exploration vessel into a makeshift war room. Captain Elena Reyes stood at the center of the bridge, her eyes fixed on the holographic display of the Zirconian system. Red markers indicated the positions of the Krevlax fleet, a swarm of angular, predatory ships that seemed to darken the very space around them. "Status report," Rise barked, her voice tense. Commander Chen looked up from his console. The last of the Zirconian refugees are aboard, Captain. We're at 150% capacity, but life support is holding steady. As for the Krevlax, he paused, his face grim. They're regrouping. It looks like they've noticed us. Reyes nodded, her mind racing through possibilities. They were outgunned and outnumbered, but they had the element of surprise. The Krevlax clearly hadn't expected another spacefaring race to intervene. Zixara, Reyes called out to the Zirconian scientist, who had become their de facto liaison. What can you tell us about Krevlax technology? Any weaknesses we can exploit? Zixara's iridescent skin pulsed with anxiety. Their technology is formidable. Energy weapons beyond our comprehension. Shields that can withstand incredible force. But the alien hesitated. But Reyes prompted. There were rumors before the invasion. Whispers of a flaw in their propulsion systems. Something about quantum instabilities. We never had a chance to verify it. Reyes turned to her chief engineer, Raj Patel. Raj, what do you make of that? Patel stroked his beard thoughtfully. Quantum instabilities in a propulsion system could be catastrophic if exploited. If we could find a way to trigger a cascade failure. His eyes lit up with the spark of an idea. Captain, remember that experimental quantum resonator we were field testing? The one that nearly shook us apart last month. Reyes asked, a smile tugging at her lips. The very same. With some modifications, we might be able to use it to disrupt their engines. It's a long shot, but it's the best shot we've got. Reyes finished. Get on it, Raj. You've got 2 hours before I want to make our first move. As Patel rushed off, Reyes turned back to the tactical display. Chen, I want battle simulations running nonstop. Use everything we've learned about Krevlax ships and tactics. Dr. Tanaka, work with Zixara. I want to know everything about Krevlax biology, culture, anything that might give us an edge. The bridge erupted into a flurry of activity. Reyes felt a surge of pride in her crew. They were explorers thrust into an impossible situation, but they were rising to the challenge with determination and ingenuity. Hours passed in a blur of preparation. Reyes had just finished reviewing Chen's battle plans when ARIA's holographic form flickered to life. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Krevlax fleet. Reyes straightened her uniform. Put it through. The main view screen filled with the image of a Krevlax commander. The alien was a stark contrast to the graceful Zirconians, all harsh angles and chitinous armor, with multiple compound eyes that seemed to glow with malevolence. Unknown vessel, the Krevlax's voice grated through the translator. You harbor fugitives from our rightful conquest. Surrender them and depart, or share their fate. Reyes stepped forward, her voice steady. This is Captain Elena Reyes of the United Earth Ship Horizon. We recognize no right of conquest. The Zirconian people are under our protection. Withdraw your forces immediately. The Krevlax commander's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. You defend them. Then you will die with them. Your ship, your technology, all will be added to the glory of the Krevlax Empire. The transmission cut off abruptly. Reyes turned to her crew, her eyes blazing with determination. Well, that settles it. We've got a fight on our hands. All hands to battle stations. As klaxons blared throughout the ship, Reyes felt a strange calm settle over her. This was it. Humanity's first interstellar battle. The fate of an entire civilization hung in the balance. Helm, prepare for evasive maneuvers, she ordered. Weapons, stand by. We strike hard and fast. Let's show these Krevlax what happens when they pick on the wrong species. The horizon surged forward, its newly modified engines pulsing with power. Ahead, the Krevlax fleet began to move, their ships forming into an attack formation that blotted out the stars. Incoming fire, Chen shouted. Evasive pattern Delta, Reyes commanded. Raj, status on that quantum resonator. Patel's voice crackled over the comm. Ready on your mark, Captain. But we'll need to get close, real close. Reyes gritted her teeth. Understood. Helm, take us in. Threading the needle, people. The horizon dove and weaved through a hail of energy beams, its hull groaning under the strain. They were massively outgunned, but the human ship was more agile, its crew more adaptable. Now, Raj, Ray shouted as they skimmed past the lead Krevlax dreadnought. A pulse of energy unlike anything the crew had ever seen before erupted from the horizon. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like a chain reaction, the nearest Krevlax ships began to shudder and twist, their hulls warping as if reality itself was coming undone around them. "It's working," Chen exclaimed. "Their engines are destabilizing." Reyes allowed herself a moment of triumph before barking out her next orders. "All weapons, fire at will. Target their weapon systems and life support. Let's give them a taste of their own medicine." The battle that followed would be remembered for generations to come. The horizon danced through the Krevlax formation, its weapons finding weak points that the aliens didn't even know they had. Zirconian scientists, working alongside human engineers, provided insights that turned the tide of the battle. Hours later, as the last Krevlax ship limped away in full retreat, a cheer went up throughout the horizon. They had done it. Against all odds, they had driven back the invaders. Reyes slumped in her chair, exhaustion finally catching up with her. She looked around at her battered but victorious crew, then at Six-Era, whose bioluminescent skin was pulsing with patterns she now recognized as joy and gratitude. "Well done, everyone," she said, her voice hoarse. "But this is just the beginning. The Krevlax will be back, and next time, they'll be ready for us." As if to emphasize her point, a priority message flashed on her console. It was from Earth Command, and its contents made her breath catch in her throat. "Captain Reyes," she read aloud, "your actions have irreversibly altered the course of human history. A fleet is being assembled. You are hereby ordered to hold your position and prepare for reinforcements. The United Earth Government has officially declared war on the Krevlax Empire." Reyes looked up at her crew, at the Zirconians who had become their allies, and out at the star-filled void beyond. In that moment, she knew that the universe would never be the same again. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and they had no intention of making a quiet entrance. Battle for Zirconia Prime. The once peaceful skies of Zirconia Prime now blazed with the fury of interstellar warfare. It had been 3 months since the UES Horizon's initial confrontation with the Krevlax, and the conflict had escalated beyond anyone's wildest predictions. A small fleet of Earth ships, hastily assembled and dispatched across light years, now stood shoulder to shoulder with the remnants of the Zirconian Defense Force. Captain Elena Reyes, now promoted to Admiral, stood on the bridge of the UES Intrepid, the flagship of humanity's first interstellar battle group. "Status report," Reyes called out, her eyes never leaving the tactical display where red Krevlax markers swarmed like angry insects. Commander Chen, who had followed Reyes to her new command, responded promptly. "The Krevlax fleet outnumbers us 3-1, Admiral. But thanks to the modifications based on Zirconian tech, our shields are holding. The quantum resonators are having an effect, but the Krevlax have adapted. They're not as vulnerable as before." Reyes nodded grimly. The element of surprise was gone, but humanity's ingenuity was far from exhausted. "And the ground situation. Colonel Watson reports heavy fighting in the southern continent. The Krevlax are pushing hard, but our troops are holding the line. The Zirconian resistance is enthusiastic, if not always effective." A ghost of a smile flickered across Reyes' face. The Zirconians, a peaceful species by nature, had shown remarkable adaptability in the face of this existential threat. What they lacked in martial skill, they made up for with determination and a surprising knack for guerrilla tactics. "Admiral," Ari's holographic form materialized nearby. "I'm detecting a surge of energy from the Krevlax flagship. It appears they're preparing to deploy their primary weapon. Raya's blood ran cold. They had seen the devastation wrought by the Krevlax planet killer during a previous engagement. If it fired on Zirconia Prime. All ships, this is Admiral Reyes. She broadcast to the fleet. Converge on my position. We're going to take out that flagship before it can fire. Zirconian ships, hang back and provide covering fire. This is going to get messy. As the human fleet maneuvered into position, Reyes turned to her weapons officer. Lieutenant Kim, remember that crazy idea you and Raj cooked up last week? Kim's eyes widened. The gravity bomb. But Admiral, it's completely untested. We have no idea what it'll do. No time like the present to find out. Prep it for launch. As the ships closed in on the massive Krevlax flagship, energy beams and projectiles crisscrossed the void. The Intrepid shuddered under the assault, but its enhanced shields held firm. We're in range, Chen reported, his voice tense. Rice took a deep breath. Fire the gravity bomb. A small, unassuming projectile shot out from the Intrepid's launch bay. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, space itself seemed to warp and twist around the Krevlax flagship. The massive vessel began to crumple inward, as if being crushed by an invisible fist. My God, Chen whispered. The Krevlax flagship imploded, taking a significant portion of their fleet with it. A cheer went up across the human ships, quickly silenced as they realized the gravity distortion was still expanding. All ships, maximum reverse thrust. Reyes shouted, "Get us out of here." The Allied fleet barely managed to escape as the anomaly collapsed in on itself, leaving behind nothing but twisted debris where the heart of the Krevlax fleet had been. As the dust settled, Reyes allowed herself a moment of relief, but it was short-lived. Admiral, ARI interrupted. I'm receiving multiple distress calls from the surface. The remaining Krevlax forces have launched a final desperate assault on major population centers. Reyes straightened, her resolve hardening. Prep all available dropships. We're going groundside. Hours later, Reyes found herself in the thick of battle on the outskirts of the Zirconian capital. The scenery was apocalyptic. Gleaming spires reduced to rubble, lush gardens turned to ash. But amid the destruction, humans and Zirconians fought side by side, pushing back against the Krevlax onslaught. Reyes ducked behind a fallen pillar as energy blasts sizzled overhead. Beside her, a young Zirconian resistance fighter named Vexilor reloaded his weapon, a hybrid of Zirconian crystal tech and human ballistics. They're falling back. Vexilor shouted over the din of battle, his bioluminescent skin pulsing with excitement. Reyes peered over their cover. Indeed, the Krevlax lines were breaking. Without their orbital support, and faced with the unexpected ferocity of the human Zirconian alliance, their will to fight was crumbling. All units, push forward. Reyes commanded into her comm. Don't let them regroup. As the Allied forces advanced, Reyes caught sight of a Krevlax commander, larger and more heavily armored than its troops. With a surge of adrenaline, she charged forward, dodging blasts and leaping over debris. The Krevlax turned, its compound eyes fixing on her with malevolent intelligence. They clashed in a flurry of movement. Reyes' combat training against the aliens' natural weaponry. It was a brutal, desperate fight, but in the end, human determination prevailed. The Krevlax commander fell, and with it, the last organized resistance on Zirconia Prime. As the dust settled and the sounds of battle faded, Reyes looked out over the scared landscape. Humans and Zirconians were embracing, tending to each other's wounds, sharing in the relief of victory. Vexilor approached, his skin glowing with a pattern Reyes had come to recognize as deep gratitude. "Admiral," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "you and your people have saved us. We can never repay this debt." Reyes shook her head, placing a hand on the young Zirconian's shoulder. "There's no debt between friends, Vexilor. This is what allies do for each other." As if to punctuate her words, a cheer went up from a nearby group of soldiers. A human lieutenant was projecting a holographic message for all to see. Krevlak's forces in full retreat across all sectors. Zirconia Prime is secure. We've won. The celebration that erupted was unlike anything Rice had ever seen. A blend of human and Zirconian traditions, a cacophony of joy that seemed to make the very air vibrate. But even as she allowed herself to join in the festivities, Rice couldn't shake a nagging thought. They had won the battle for Zirconia Prime. Yes. But the war? The war was far from over. The Krevlaks would be back, and next time, they'd be even more prepared for what humanity and their new allies could throw at them. As the twin suns of the Zirconian system set on the liberated planet, Rice found a quiet moment to send a message back to Earth Command. Zirconia Prime secure, she wrote. But our job's not done. The Krevlaks' threat remains. Request permission to take the fight to them. It's time to show the galaxy that humanity's not just here to stay. We're here to make a difference. The response came faster than she expected. Permission granted. Admiral Reyes. Godspeed, and give 'em hell. Reyes smiled grimly. The next phase of the war was about to begin, and with it, humanity's rise as a force to be reckoned with in the galaxy. Whatever came next, one thing was certain: the universe would never be the same again. Counterstrike and revelations. The bridge of the UES Intrepid hummed with nervous energy as it led the combined human Zirconian fleet through the swirling vortex of a wormhole. Admiral Elena Reyes stood at the helm, her face illuminated by the ethereal light of faster-than-light travel. They were venturing into unknown territory, the heart of Krevlak space. Wormhole exit in 30 seconds, Lieutenant Patil announced, his fingers dancing over the navigation controls. Reyes nodded, her voice carrying across the bridge. All hands, battle stations. We don't know what's waiting for us on the other side. As the seconds ticked down, Reyes reflected on the months of preparation that had led to this moment. The alliance between humans and Zirconians had grown stronger, with an exchange of technology and culture that had transformed both societies. Earth's first extraterrestrial embassy now stood proudly in the rebuilt Zirconian capital, a symbol of their newfound friendship. But more importantly, they had gathered intelligence. Zixera and her team of scientists had worked tirelessly to decrypt Krevlak's communications, piecing together the location of their homeworld and the extent of their empire. The wormhole collapsed around them, and suddenly they were there, in orbit around a massive gas giant. Its swirling storms were dwarfed by the sheer scale of the Krevlak's installation surrounding it. A Dyson swarm, thousands of habitats and shipyards drawing energy directly from the planet. My God, Commander Chen whispered, voicing the awe felt by everyone on the bridge. There was no time for wonder, though. Alarms blared as Aria's holographic form materialized. Multiple hostile signatures detected. They're powering up weapon systems. Evasive maneuvers. Reyes barked. All ships, engage at will. Remember the plan. We're here to cripple their infrastructure, not for total destruction. The space around the gas giant erupted into chaos. Human and Zirconian ships weaved through the Krevlak's defenses, their weapons finding weak points in the massive structures. The quantum resonators, now refined and more powerful, played havoc with Krevlak's systems. But something was off. The Krevlak's response, while fierce, lacked the coordination Reyes had expected from a homeworld defense. Admiral. Zixera's voice came through the comm, tinged with confusion. These energy readings, this can't be their primary production facility. It's too inefficient. Reyes frowned. Deep scan of the system. What are we missing? As the AI worked, the battle raged on. The Intrepid shuddered under a barrage of Krevlak's fire, its enhanced shields barely holding. Admiral. Aria's voice cut through the chaos. I've detected a subspace anomaly at the edge of the system. It appears to be a portal of some kind. Rhea's mind raced. A portal. To where? All ships, focus fire on that anomaly. Whatever it is, The Krevlax don't want us to find it. As the Allied fleet adjusted their attack, a massive Krevlax dreadnought moved to intercept them. It was unlike anything they'd seen before, bristling with weapons and radiating an energy that made the sensors go haywire. "Incoming transmission," Lieutenant Kim announced. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a Krevlax unlike any they'd encountered. Its exoskeleton was adorned with bioluminescent patterns, its eyes glowing with an intelligence that sent chills down Raya's spine. "Humans," the Krevlax spoke, its voice resonating oddly through the translator. "You have become an inconvenience." Ray stepped forward. "We've become more than that. We're here to end your tyranny, to free the species you've subjugated." The Krevlax made a sound that might have been laughter. "Subjugation. You understand nothing. We are not conquerors. We are shepherds. Shepherds don't slaughter their flock." Rai shot back. "Sometimes culling is necessary for the greater good." The Krevlax's eyes seemed to bore into Rai's. "The galaxy is dying, human. Entropy increases. Resources dwindle. We do what must be done to ensure the survival of life itself." As the Krevlax spoke, the intrepid sensors pinged. They'd broken through the defenses around the portal. What they saw beyond it defied comprehension. A massive structure, like a skeletal metal sphere the size of a solar system. "By the stars," Zixera breathed. "It's a Dyson sphere, a fully functional one." The Krevlax continued, its voice taking on an almost reverent tone. "For millennia, we have worked to create a sanctuary, a place where chosen species might weather the coming storm. Your interference threatens everything." Reyes felt the weight of the revelation settle on her shoulders. The Krevlax saw themselves as saviors, willing to commit atrocities in the name of a greater good. It was horrifying. And yet, she could almost understand the cold logic behind it. But understanding didn't mean acceptance. "There has to be another way," Rice said, her voice firm. "Cooperation, not subjugation. We can face the challenges of the galaxy together, as equals." The Krevlax was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, there was a note of something almost like regret in its voice. "Perhaps, in another reality, that might have been possible. But the die is cast. We cannot risk the fate of all on your idealism." The transmission cut off abruptly. The massive dreadnought surged forward, weapons blazing. "Evasive action," Rice shouted. "All ships, converge on the portal. We need to get through." What followed was the most intense battle of Reyes' career. Human ingenuity and Zirconian technology clashed against the full might of the Krevlax war machine. Ships on both sides fell, torn apart by weapons that defied the laws of physics as they understood them. But slowly, inexorably, they pushed through. The portal loomed larger in their view screens, a gateway to either salvation or doom. As the Intrepid crossed the threshold, alarms blared. "Admiral," Araya warned, "the portal is collapsing behind us. The rest of the fleet, they won't make it through." Rise closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of lives lost. When she opened them, her gaze was steel. "Send a final transmission to the fleet. Tell them to fall back to Zirconia Prime. If we don't make it back, they'll need to prepare." The portal snatched shut behind them, leaving the Intrepid alone in a vast, artificial solar system. The Dyson sphere surrounded them, its inner surface dotted with lights. Entire civilizations preserved in a cosmic arc. As they drifted in the artificial twilight, Rise turned to her crew. "We came here to end a war," she said, her voice carrying across the silent bridge. "Now we might have to save the galaxy instead." The implications hung heavy in the air. They were cut off, outnumbered, in the heart of what might be the most significant discovery in the history of the universe. Whatever came next would shape the fate of not just humanity, but all sentient life. Rise squared her shoulders. "All right, people, let's get to work. We got a galaxy to save, and I'll be damned if we let the Krevlax dictate the terms." As the crew sprang into action, Rise gazed out at the impossible structures surrounding them. Somewhere out there were answers, and perhaps a way to bridge the gap between the Krevlax's grim pragmatism and humanity's idealistic hope. One thing was certain: the real battle was just beginning. Triumph of Unity. The UES Intrepid drifted through the vast interior of the Dyson sphere, its sensors straining to comprehend the sheer scale of the structure. Admiral Elena Reyes stood on the bridge, her face illuminated by the soft glow of countless artificial habitats dotting the sphere's inner surface. "Status report," she called out, her voice steadied despite the weight of their situation. Commander Chen looked up from his console, his face a mix of awe and concern. "We're detecting thousands of distinct biospheres, Admiral. Each one seems to be a preserved snapshot of a different world. As for the Krevlax, they're out there, but they're not attacking. It's like they're waiting for something." Reyes nodded, her mind racing. They were cut off from the rest of the fleet, trapped in this cosmic Noah's Ark with the very enemy they'd come to defeat. But the revelation of the Krevlax's true motives had changed everything. They weren't simple conquerors. They were self-appointed guardians of life itself, willing to commit atrocities in the name of preservation. "Zixera," Reyes called out to the Zirconian scientist, who had insisted on joining this final mission. "What do you make of all this?" Zixera's bioluminescent skin pulsed with patterns of wonder and trepidation. "It's incredible, Admiral. The scientific achievements required to create this, it's beyond anything we could have imagined. But the ethical implications, to decide which species live and which die, it's monstrous." Before Reyes could respond, Araya's holographic form flickered to life. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission. It's coming from everywhere." The view screen came to life, showing not a single Krevlax, but a composite image, representatives from countless species, their faces blending and shifting in a dizzying display. "Humans," the collective voice spoke, each word resonating with the weight of millennia. "You have come far, fought hard, but do you understand? Can you comprehend the burden we bear?" Reyes stepped forward, her voice firm. "We understand that you believe you're doing what's necessary. But who gave you the right to decide the fate of entire civilizations?" The composite face shifted, showing flashes of emotion. Sorrow, determination, a hint of desperation. "No one gave us the right. We took it because we saw what was coming. The heat death of the universe is inevitable. Resources dwindle. Stars burn out. We act to preserve what can be saved. At what cost?" Reyes challenged. "The species you've culled might have found solutions you never imagined. Unity, cooperation. These are strengths, not weaknesses." The image flickered, uncertainty creeping into its voice. "And yet, you came here with weapons, not words." Reyes felt the weight of the moment. This was it, the culmination of everything they'd fought for. "We came to stop what we thought was senseless destruction. Now that we understand, we're offering something else: partnership." A murmur went through the bridge crew. This wasn't part of any plan, but Reyes pressed on. "Humanity is young, yes, but we've faced extinction before. We've stared into the abyss and clawed our way back. And we did it together, not by sacrificing the few for the many. Your goal is noble, but your methods are flawed. Let us help you find a better way." The composite face was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, its voice was tinged with something new: hope. "You would work with us, knowing what we've done." Reyes nodded solemnly. "To save the galaxy, to preserve life itself. Yes, but on our terms. No more culling, no more subjugation. We face this threat united, or not at all." What followed was unlike any negotiation in human history. For hours, Reyes and her crew talked with the Krevlax collective. They shared stories of human resilience, of the power of diversity and cooperation. The Zirconians spoke of their own journey from near extinction to a new golden age, made possible by alliance with humanity. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, the Krevlax began to change. Their collective consciousness, shaped by eons of grim determination, started to embrace a new perspective. As the talks progressed, something extraordinary happened. The Dyson sphere itself began to change. Barriers between habitats dissolved. Species long kept separate began to mingle, to share knowledge and culture. Days turned into weeks. The Intrepid's crew worked tirelessly, facilitating communication between long-isolated species. What had begun as a war was transforming into the greatest cultural exchange in galactic history. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, a new transmission came through. The composite face had changed. Now it included human and Zirconian features alongside the myriad other species. "We have deliberated," the collective voice announced. "Your vision, it offers hope we had thought lost. We accept your proposal. The Dyson sphere will be opened. Knowledge will be shared. Together, we will face the challenges that lie ahead." A cheer went up across the Intrepid's bridge. Rice felt tears stinging her eyes as she turned to her crew. "Send a message to Earth, to Zirconia Prime, to every world we can reach. Tell them the war is over. A new age is beginning." As the Intrepid prepared to lead a delegation of ships back through the reopened portal, Rice stood at the view screen, watching the Dyson sphere transform. What had been a prison was becoming a beacon of hope, a shining example of what could be achieved when life united against the darkness. "You know," Chen said, coming to stand beside her, "when we set out on this mission, I never imagined it would end like this." Rice smiled, a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration on her face. "That's the beauty of exploration, David. You never know what you'll find out there, or what you'll discover about yourself." As the Intrepid led the way back to known space, Rice couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder. They had come seeking to end a war, and instead, they had forged an alliance that spanned the cosmos. Humanity had not just secured its place among the stars, it had helped reshape the very future of life in the galaxy. The journey ahead would not be easy, integrating countless species, healing the wounds of war, facing the heat-death of the universe. These were challenges that would take generations to overcome. But as Reyes looked out at the sea of stars, she felt something she hadn't dared feel in a long time: hope. Humanity had passed its first great test among the stars. They had faced annihilation and responded not with despair, but with determination and compassion. Whatever the future held, they would face it together, united in the greatest adventure in the history of life itself. As the Intrepid jumped to warp, carrying news of peace and unity to a waiting galaxy, Reyes allowed herself a moment of reflection. They had set out to defeat an enemy, but in the end, they had done something far greater. They had saved the future.